Welcome back, or welcome to another episode of the Success Times Happiness podcast. I am your host, Richard Thompson, and I am very excited to have our next guest here into Sunshine Studios, Adriano Zumbo, known to be one of the best pastry chefs in the country. He rose to fame on MasterChef in the first couple of series, and he now is also in a baking competition called Zumbo's Just Desserts, and is a judge on Netflix's cooking show, Sugar Rush. He has an amazing story and of, I guess, highs and lows. And so now based on the Sunshine Coast, and I can't wait to sit down with him today to talk to him about what it means for him now and what it meant in the past to be successful and to be happy. So here we go. Adriano Zumbo, welcome to the pod.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah.
We're just talking about your morning routine, and it starts early.
Starts early, about 4:15. Yeah, I wake up 4 o'clock on Saturday.
Nothing other than a shower, then straight to work.
Shower and straight to work.
Surely, what time is your first coffee?
Probably around 7.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's when the front of house.
The machine's on. And
machine's on. I turn the machine on for them.
Okay.
Yeah, and then they come in and I get a coffee usually after they've set up.
Yeah, amazing you've come on here. I really appreciate your time. And I think you're a really worthwhile guest because when we spoke, when I first met you here on the coast, I was unaware of what you had been through over the last few years and the way that you talked about it, and I guess your emotions that you went through to get to this place, which is amazing. To have your own space again and your own place to be creative is awesome, is amazing to get through to that place. And so I would love the opportunity to talk with you or listen to those stories for you, that you tell me about success and happiness and the trials and tribulations that you have gone through, because I think, there's lots to get through. So take me back growing up, let's say, as a teenager.
Yeah.
You're in southern New South Wales?
Oh, Central West.
Central West, near Dubbo, off Dubbo? Yeah.
Hour and a half out of Dubbo.
Yep.
A little town called Coonamble. Yeah, so I grew up there. Parents had the supermarket, local supermarket, and a few other businesses,
Yep.
Like a bottle shop and stuff. And so I just grew up there.
Siblings?
I got 2 sisters.
Yep.
But they're both, one's 10 years older than me, one's 12 years older than me.
Okay.
And they'd both gone to boarding school.
Right.
So I'd only see them
at holidays
or when they come home. Or
you're otherwise a child.
Otherwise, I kind of grew up by myself, right?
Yeah.
Until, as a young kid, they were around, but then once they went away,
yeah, I
was kind of there by myself. So, went to primary school and high school and pretty much, yeah.
You didn't go to boarding school, obviously?
No. Oh, they were going to send me to boarding school, but the school they wanted to send me to played rugby union, and I wanted to play rugby league because I was playing league at the time for Coonamble, and I was into it.
Yep.
And I said, no, I want to go to Greg's in Campbelltown.
Mm-hmm.
And they want to send me to Joey's in Hunters Hill because it was close to my sister.
Right.
So they could easily visit me.
And there just wasn't a league program?
They play union.
Yeah.
Like Joey's is the union school. So, yeah, but Greg's was like one of the top rugby league schools. And I was like, I want to go out there.
Yeah.
But no, it just didn't work out. I said, look, I'm just going to stay home in Campbell.
Okay.
So I went to the local high school,
mm-hmm.
just kept playing for the local team. And yeah.
Were you thinking the NRL or the ARL at that point? Like full-time?
I would have liked to,
Yeah.
I played rep for Group 14 and stuff when I was out there, and but it's hard. It's hard to get to that rank. You got to kind of go to get in someone's eyes, but never did.
Yeah.
So then it was like I was in year 10, and it was time to do something.
Do something else.
Yeah, do something else. I think I was young. I worked every day after school
at the supermarket.
Yeah. I used to have to. Some years I used to have to run away, like on the Saturday, to go and play footy. Like where my parents' supermarket was, literally the footy bus. Would you catch a footy bus across the road? Sometimes I'd leg it at the door when they weren't at the front,
right?
And I'd just disappear.
Amazing.
And I was on the bus. Once I was on the bus
to go play, or to go
I was in Ningen or somewhere.
Yeah,
well, I was playing.
Yeah.
But I was in another town, so no one could get me. And then I just deal with it when I got home.
And how did that go? Not well.
Yeah, not well. But you just deal with it.
Yeah.
It's just something you did, like because you wanted to play footy with your mates and everyone in the team, and
yeah.
So
better than manning the deli.
Yeah.
The cash register.
Yeah. It was like, so I used to just do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then eventually, they kind of come around, but sometimes they always, no, I need you to do this. I'm like, no, but I got to go play footy.
What was the focus at home? Was it how did they, growing up, like in that environment, they're obviously got their own business,
mm-hmm.
which is quite unique in a lot of families. Usually it's like employee stuff and working for the man, but they're controlling it a little bit.
Yeah.
How was your impressions growing up with business?
Oh yeah, my parents worked hard. Yeah. I never saw them like a lot, they were always at the shop, like literally they'd leave at like 6 a.m. And they'd come home like 8 at night. So, that was the day.
Yeah.
And I'd either hang out at the shop with them after school or go to them in the morning before school, hang out at the shop. And then I'd go to school from the shop.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'd walk around because the high school was there, or primary school was around the other corner. So they were both kind of central to the main street of Coonamble.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of my life.
And did you have that relationship with them where they would be expressly sitting you down and talking to you about things like achieving success, or was it just more them just working hard and being examples of that for you?
Yeah, just working hard.
Yeah,
just work hard, and then like they wanted me to take over the family business.
That was the
goal.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but
they said that to you?
Yeah, that was the goal. They wouldn't give me the shop, and I'd take over it and
keep it going.
Stay there, keep it going, and look, it's one option, and it could have been easy money.
Yeah,
but I just didn't want to. Like, I think I needed to go and
you wanted to leg it
and explore
off on the bus somewhere else.
At that age, I was just I got to go.
Yeah.
And then once I started like baking in store in the supermarket, instead of stacking shelves of stuff, I found that more enjoyable. And then I was like, I wanted to look into it a little bit more.
The baking, that really got you.
When I was about 14, I got into baking. They built a shop for my sister. Probably before that, maybe, but then they had a little in-store bakery in there. It wasn't anything flat. Like, it's not like you're making everything from scratch. There's no baker there. It's kind of like just par bake. A little bit like kind of Coles
Woolies now.
It comes semi-made, you prove it, bake it or whatever.
Yeah.
This is kind of already done. You thaw it out. But I enjoyed it, that part anyway. That process, or putting the icing on different colors. At that time, it gave me a good thing. And I used to take stuff to school, and people used to say how yummy and delicious it was. It gave me a good feeling. You know what I mean? So like, and when I was at school, I'm one of those people, like, if I'm not doing something, I'm not focused.
Yeah, okay.
If I'm sitting in class and someone's reading a book or she's telling me something, I'm listening, but it's going like straight through.
Yeah.
I can't hold the information.
Yeah. Unless you're wholly engaged with it.
Exactly. Unless I'm doing something, figuring it out in my head.
Yeah.
Like, I'm that person. I'm not the academic person.
Yeah.
I figured it. I mean, that stage I probably didn't know it, but now I look at it, there's like kind of two people.
And was there any other avenue in your teenage years that, because obviously you're ridiculously creative, you'd almost call yourself like an artist in a different way. But in your teenage years, were there any other avenues that you were using your creative spark, or was it that you found that in the work you're doing with the baking?
Yeah, it's found it in that. Yeah, just playing around,
Yeah.
I mean, it's very raw and rustic when you're young.
Sure.
Yeah. Kind of like until you learn a little bit more of a skill that you can adapt it to, your brain starts thinking and so forth. But yeah, like most classes, I was just not there. I was there, but I was, I only did well in things I enjoyed, like geography.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to travel, or I did travel a bit with my parents back to Italy and stuff. So I got to explore, and I used to play a computer game called Carmen Sandiego.
Loved that game. Yes, and the show that it was on there as well.
Taught me all about the world. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? Like traveling, trying to chase her to catch her. Then
where in the world is Carmen Sandiego?
And then I learned all about major cities, where this was, and blah. So I did really well in geography.
Yeah.
For that sense, because I was engaged in something else that I liked, but it took something across into that subject.
Yeah, sure.
It made it easier to learn. Do you know what I mean? Like I think that's whereas like sitting there, like listening to someone tell me
or something,
like history or
no point.
There's
no engagement.
Do you know what I mean? Like it's not. I'd need to visually get immersed in it to like be able to to get more out of it.
Yeah.
But sitting in a room, someone telling me or reading it in a book, it just doesn't.
Your parents were fine with that? Like they're just like, that's just Adriano.
Yeah. I was. Yeah. I think they just dealt with it. They just, as long as I just come and work.
Took over the shop or something.
They didn't really care. And they obviously didn't want me to be, to waste school, but I didn't waste it, but I wasn't, probably 100% most of the times.
At what point did you go, okay, school's, that sort of academic side is not going to be my future, but I want to go and learn more about the craft?
Yeah, it was year 10. I left school.
Yeah.
Back then you could leave, and I don't know if you still can, but year 10 you could get work leave.
Yep.
As long as you had a job and you took it to the principal, he'd sign you off. So I did my school certificate. Next day I went to the principal and got work leave.
Yep.
Well, to backtrack a bit, I went to Sydney for a school formal with my friends, and then while I was there I went for a job interview got an apprenticeship.
Where was that at?
Dobinson's Cakes, it was called. Yeah, they had shops in Rose Bay, Double Bay in the city at the time. So that's where I kind of started. But the kitchen was in Darlinghurst, in the back streets of Darlinghurst,
right
near William Street. You know, it's like it was a pretty rocky place to start. Coming from the country in your first jobs, starting at midnight.
in that environment.
In that environment.
Yeah.
So I was lucky I had a great sister. She used to drop me off. So, so I didn't have to like catch public transport. I was only 15, so but then you kind of get used to the atmosphere and you get a bit more confidence. You start catching the bus and stuff. Yeah, and whatnot. But so then I got that job, and then I said, and then my sister said, you can live with like her because she's older than me anyway. She had a job and she was. So I went back home, told my parents. Obviously weren't that happy, but they let me go.
Huh.
I think only because it was my older sister
that was there.
So I think they've
some family there.
Yeah, and she was old enough, 12 years older than me, so she was 27 at that time, probably 28.
When you're making that decision, is your desire is focused on just being better at the craft? Like you just
escape. I think it was escape.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it was just to get away for
change. That interests you.
That did interest me, but I knew I was taking a risk to start an apprenticeship because I didn't know would I last. Would I still be interested in it once I started to actually work in a real job? But yeah, I loved it. 6 months in, I was like, oh, this is cool. I really enjoyed the creativity. People I worked with were pretty cool. The hours weren't great, but at that stage I was pretty young still, so it didn't bother me. Like, still got lots of energy and that sort of stuff doesn't really.
80 hours a week, $4 an hour is fine.
It was, it's like $188 a week. First year apprentice, you take home $188 a week.
Yeah, right.
It's different now.
It's like $288 a week.
No, it's like they get over $700.
Yeah, right.
First year apprentice now. So it's completely different, because of the government's incentivise it so much to try and keep apprentices in the industry.
Sure.
Because if you're not living at home on that wage or with somebody in your family, you can't live. You know what I mean? So I think they've kind of tried to balance it out to try and make it more fair and to keep people in the job. So, which makes sense.
And I read somewhere that you had some really good mentors in that early stage.
You had a good boss.
Was that luck more than anything else?
Yeah, it's luck, yeah. Come across the right kind of people to work with and bosses, and it made it more enjoyable. And, when it's more enjoyable, you stay in the job.
Yeah.
It's always going to be hard, right? Food's hard. It's a repetitive job that needs consistency, and people eat it, and if they don't like it, they
tell you straight away.
They'll tell you straight away. So, like, even if you're working with someone, if you're not doing the best job for them, like, it comes back to the team anyway. So it's like you always got to be on it and sort of focused and doing your best and pushing hard. And but it's good to have. I found them funny people, good. Like, I don't know, they're just people you click with.
It's a different.
It's not so.
Different crowd.
It's serious, but it's not super serious. Still, like, there's a crack in the air, where they can. I used to, people used to throw mud cakes at me and, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But you knew it was just out of humor. It wasn't like someone picking on you or bullying you.
Sure.
It's just like you're just working away and this mud cake goes bang onto the wall, just passes your head.
Going through the apprenticeship.
Yep.
Did you spend any time in regular kitchens, or is it all just sweets and cakes and patisserie?
All sweets and cakes. I did spend time in the normal kitchen, but not working in that area. I worked as in the dessert section.
Oh, sure.
So I worked in some restaurants.
Yeah.
In my apprenticeship.
Yeah.
But in the dessert section.
Desserts.
And in dessert, sometimes you got to do salads.
Oh, true.
Yeah, because larder and dessert sometimes can be connected.
Right.
So that section, salads and desserts, sometimes you have to just, depending on the restaurant, you might have to chip in and make some salad.
Put a few lettuce leaves together.
Yeah, it's pretty easy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Chuck it on a plate.
Do you find that, I have found in that, comparing yourself to a chef in a regular operating kitchen, to be the same, cut off the same cloth, or do you think it takes a certain type of individual when it comes to like the precision and repetition?
Well, I think it's the same in that sense, but I think desserts is a bit more detailed.
Okay.
Yeah, in the sense of like, the scaling of ingredients, the difference in the balance of ingredients. When you're cooking vegetables and protein, still a lot of skill involved.
Yeah.
But there's a little bit more give. You can add a little bit of this, season it, bring it back or whatever. With desserts, usually
If too far.
Yeah, if there's no gelatin or there's not enough gelatin, it's not going to set. You know what I mean? It's gone. Or if something is in the cake, too much baking powder, not baking powder, whatever it is, you know what I mean? It's going to just flunk and collapse, and most of it will go in the bin.
Yeah.
It's not something you can go, oh, I'm going to try and
rectify it.
rectify it because it's already done. It's cooked. It's done.
And in your apprenticeship, is that the time that you felt like were you encouraged, or were you pushing those boundaries on the process side? Where you're like going, okay, what happens if I do add more gelatin, or is it
Probably in my later days, early days, all I was doing was racing the other apprentice. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I would always just try and beat him.
follow the recipe?
Do what I'm doing.
Do what you're told.
When I
to
first started, I was doing cupcakes and all that kind of stuff. And there was two of us, me and another apprentice, and we'd have 100 cupcakes each in a big tray, and we'd just sit there and icing, and we'd just go, just go head to head,
And is he involved in this game as well?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Just go head to head and just try and beat him.
And then the loser gets a mud cake to them.
But yeah, so in your head, you're always like those little things, like always trying to do something better, faster, competing. It was very competitive. You're learning, yes, but and you always practice. After work, I'd stay back and play around with some airbrush stuff, and like back then in those days. But as you kind of get more into it, you start to learn about textures, quality ingredients, how to play with them a little bit. But that's probably a little bit later, on,
It's funny because we dismissed the education part of schooling, but almost daily now you're playing with math, chemistry, physics.
Oh, totally.
In everything that you're doing.
But it's a different way of learning it.
Totally.
You know what I mean? So it's like, it's not the.
If they taught it in the way of for you, then you'd be all over it.
I'll be all over it. Yeah, I'll be there. So I think everyone has a different way to absorb information.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So I think there's something like with education that, I think over the years they probably will pick up on it and see that like some kids that are interested in different things.
It could be very good at physics, but not in the way you teach it.
Exactly. Yeah. And the things that you're doing with it doesn't interest them.
Are you staying in the same place with your apprenticeship, or are you moving around a bit?
I moved around a bit. So I stayed in that place for about 1.5 years.
Yeah.
The first job, Dobinson's. Where did I go after that? I went to a place called George's Restaurant for a little bit. It was in Double Bay. And then I went to Wokpool Restaurant, which was one of Neil Perry's back then, which was a really good job. I worked there for about 1.5 years as well.
Yeah.
Really good boss, really good training. And that was kind of where I opened my eyes up to better ingredients. So my first job was a bit more bakery style, kind of Aussie bakery / the owners were kind of Hungarian. So they had a little bit of European products in there. So learning that. And then I went to that restaurant side where we were doing kind of like catering desserts and restaurant desserts, but also doing desserts for the restaurant downstairs, which was Wokpool, which was kind of like an Asian version of Rockpool. So at the time, and so that was kind of fun learning about all those different flavors and fruits and ways of using like tapioca and rice and stuff in desserts, and like all those things that I didn't really know much about.
Sure.
Coming from where I came from. So that really opened me up to all those kind of really yummy and exciting different ways. And then kind of, you start thinking different.
Yeah.
And then I stayed there, and then I left there and I went to a place called Victoire, which is a French sourdough bakery. And I was doing the pastry stuff there, not the bread. And I stayed there for about 5 years, I think. Yeah. So I ended up being in charge, because in my last year of apprenticeship, I went there, and then the boss, like my pastry, it was only me and him at the time. And then he left and I was just covering, and then they never got anyone. And then we got someone that went under me after that. So,
Sure.
And then I just stayed there for 5 years of running it. So that
French,
kind of
French patisseries.
Yeah. So they being there and with the boss, she kind of gave me that freedom to kind of make pretty much what I wanted. She had her staple stuff. I just had to do that, and then anything else, I could do whatever I wanted. So it gave me the challenge to start to look how to push myself and grow myself without having a mentor in front of me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was only 19 at that stage. And so it was like, I got in there and dug deep, books and reading. I'm trying to find information and learn how to do different things and, trial and error and all that kind of stuff. So it was a real kind of hit and miss on the product sometimes, but it taught me a lot. And it gave me that opportunity to start creating myself.
Do you think that's where there was some focus on the French style of sweets?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Because before that, it was pretty much mostly restaurant
desserts.
Restaurant and sort of Aussie bakery kind of stuff,
Mm-hmm.
Your finger buns and your cupcakes and all those kind of, which is good to learn.
Staples.
Yeah, staples. Good to learn. But then, that kind of opened it up to that bit more boutique-y, modern, contemporary stuff.
Yeah.
And from there, I kind of went started going overseas to do some short courses and some work in some places for 2 weeks for free sort of thing, my time when I take my holidays or whatever.
In Europe?
In Europe, yeah. So while I was, in my time there, I started to do that a little bit and I started to learn more.
And along the way, at this point in time, are you thinking I could do this myself, or on a business level, or are you thinking I'm just so focused on being a better chef?
Yeah, I think it's more about being a better chef, being able to have the freedom to do what you want completely.
Yeah.
I think that's where I kind of took me towards having my own place. You go overseas and you see pastry chefs would have a place with their name or whatever on it, and beautiful, like nice jewelry kind of cab, nice fit outs, and so, and that's what I kind of like. Oh, we could do that, So everywhere I kind of worked, I was trying to get them to like change the thing to say like, if we do it like this, we could get more people to look at it better. You know what I mean? So
okay, so your mind was getting closer to how running that business rather than also making a better product.
Pretty much there. And then I just went, you know what, some stuff happened, and I kind of left Sydney for about 12 months, went up to Cairns, worked in a hotel up there. I always wanted to work in a hotel. Then I took this opportunity at the time. I just went, you know what, I need a break. I'm going to get out of the big smoke for a bit.
Yeah.
So I went up to Cairns, worked up there for a bit. And then that was good. Nice place and all that sort of stuff. But, hotel, a little bit of hierarchy and stuff. And I just couldn't grow to where I thought I should be. I thought I was working hard, pushing hard. And the person that had above me was just, I don't know, I felt like I was going backwards. Yeah, in the sense of like where I was creatively and wanted to go and where they were. It was
like stifled.
Yeah, it was like 1980s, but he got that job because he had more experience in hotels than me. Right. Like it was a hierarchy thing. It wasn't about how creative you are or how good you work. It was more that the experience, because that job came up. The guy who was in that second position got fired and I was third. Right. And then I thought, well, I should get a crack at going in the second. Yeah. But I didn't get it. So they put this other guy in, and then I worked with him for a while just to see what it was like. And then I just said, nah, I'm not going anywhere. We're making, meringues with dates in them and, brownies for every function, whatever. It's pretty boring.
Yeah.
I'm just going to go backwards here.
So I find that really interesting that, how old are you here? 22, 23? And to be that young and to go, it's not even the fact that you're not running the ship. It's just a creative thing, right? To go, I'm not getting that flexibility, the creative flex that I so much desire. And I think that's an artist to go, I don't necessarily care for the money or for where I am geographically. It's just, I just want to be able to create. And if I'm not going to be able to create, then it's killing me.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're not getting that fix,
it's a creative fix,
right? I get it.
To be able to express yourself through.
And what's the point?
Through the
you know what I mean? It's like you could do it for a while, but if you're not getting that outlet, then that's what you're pushing for. Yeah, because like I'm doing this stuff and
you're getting the shits.
Yeah, because you can't grow. It's more the fact they put someone above me that you can learn from and inspires you. No problems. You're going to drive with them. You're going to go, yep, that's the best decision you made. This guy's amazing or whatever. But when that doesn't happen and you sort of start to reverse, you start to backdraw, you know what I mean? It's like, I've got to get out of here because my brain's going the other way.
Yeah. So then you head back to Sydney? New Sydney?
Head back to Sydney, yeah. I moved back to Sydney and then I started baking from home. So I'd do the Fox markets. I did the local cafe in Balmain. And I was just supplying them for 6 months, I reckon. I was doing that in the markets.
Out of the
house, just out of the home. Little home ovens. 90 centimeter, like a large home oven, but
not industrial.
Not industrial. And so I was just doing that. That was keeping me busy for a bit, but then I needed to do something else. And
are you putting your name on that, or are you
at the markets?
At the markets you were?
Yeah. In the cafe, no. I think they're telling people I made it, but I didn't have my name on it.
No,
it was in their cafe. But at the markets, I was representing myself. So so selling there, and people asking, "Where's your shop? Where's your shop? Oh, you don't have a shop? Oh, you should go to shop."
You should see Marvin.
And then I'm like, so then eventually, a few friends got behind me at the time, and just sort of kicked me in the butt and said, "Go do it. I found you a shop And
Was that in Balmain?
It was in Balmain. He goes, yeah, if you don't take it, I will. And I was like, okay. And so anyway, I ended up doing it. And then we set that up pretty cheap, mate helped me at the time, set it all up, fit it all out kind of. And then we just got cabinets and put them in and subleased the kitchen, put a little bit of equipment in it, what we needed to get by and start. And that's how we started.
And at that stage, are you on a business level? Have you done a plan? Have you gone nothing? Just gone, the rent's cheap enough that I can probably clear it. And
Rent was cheap. It was $400. In Balmain, that was cheap.
Yeah, okay.
Because where I was working before in Balmain,
yeah,
it was I think it was about $3,500, but it's a much bigger site. But
sure,
there's only 28 square meter site that I took.
That's what you need,
for a retail. But $400 is like nothing, at the time.
Was that a 3-year?
I can't remember. It would have been about 3 years.
Yeah,
3 or 5. I can't remember.
Right, but it's like fine.
But it was like, yeah, that's fine. I'm not, it's not much to lose. And then the sublease the kitchen. I think it was a couple $100 a week as well.
Oh, great.
And then they ended up going bust. They were a muffin company. It was just down the road in Roselle, so it was only a kilometre away from the shop.
Okay.
And then, just drive it down every morning. And, when then they kind of went bust, and then I kind of took over the whole space. And then, kind of grew from there.
Are you on retail there as well? As in, are you point of sale or are you as well as
In
cooking?
the afternoon I was.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'd work in the kitchen all morning.
Yeah, with someone at the front.
And someone else was running the front. And then I'd come and take over. And I'd run to the clothes was closed.
Days.
Yeah, big days, yeah.
What are you talking, like 4 till?
I used to sleep in my car sometimes. Like those days when I started that, then you used to see things because you're so tired,
Right,
or you sleep. Yeah, you start to lose, like seeing things all the time. Like you're just so tired, but you just got this automatic kind of just got
What's
to do it.
driving you here, Zumbo?
I think just to be successful or achieve. I think it's more achievement. I think the fact that I got my own place, and that now it's my opportunity to do what I do, and I want people to enjoy it. I think it's the drive to make something great and then get the response from people who enjoy it. That gives you the energy and the drive and the adrenaline to keep doing it, to keep making something great, right? And then your interest, your passion, start looking at different products. You're like, oh yeah, I want to make that. You make it, put it in the shop, someone likes it, or they don't like it, that doesn't sell, whatever. You just chop and change.
You didn't do a business plan, so at no point at this stage do you have a metric of what success looks like for you there?
Had no idea.
So you're hallucinating, sleeping in your car.
Just a chef, man.
Just hacking, like just grinding as hard as you can for the pure joy of getting people to enjoy your product.
Of course, yeah. I had no idea. There's no regulations. There's nothing you have to do in this industry to say that, oh, well, I'm a this, or I have this qualification, or I have that. You can just go and open a shop,
right?
So it's like there's no regulations to say, oh, you need this, or
you need a 3-year thing, or
one of your partners a business degree or whatever,
an MBA.
Do you know what I mean? Like in some countries, that's what you have to have.
Yeah, right.
To have certain businesses.
Yeah.
And
just as long as you pay the lease.
Yeah. So for me, it was like, you know what? That's what I wanted. I wanted that freedom. So I went and did it, and just
and
grinding away.
And then, did you have, other than just pure volume of sales, along the way in that early stages, are you feeling the momentum improve or increase? You feel that?
Yep. Yeah. It's just slow. For the first year, it was kind of like a slow build.
Yep.
Yeah. A lot of locals, a lot of people, kind of the odd person from somewhere else would find it as a hidden gem, and then didn't really get much write up in that first year.
Yeah. Did you try?
Yeah, we tried, and a heap of our customers actually wrote to like newspapers and magazines and saying,
"Check this guy.
Why are you writing about this guy? He's doing really good stuff and different stuff and really tasty." And it's just I didn't do any of it.
What are you selling at this point in time? Like, what's the
tarts, macarons, small range of chocolates we had then, and then cakes.
Yeah, okay.
Pretty much quiche, some pastries.
Yeah,
and then probably maybe after a year and a half we started doing a little bit of bread.
Okay,
just because customers were asking, wish you had bread,
whole collection of
just a little bit of convenience, and then we started. Over the next years we started making more bread and stuff. So, but yeah, a little bit of everything.
Okay.
It was more like just different creativity and the risk. I think back then you could say whatever you wanted, like in cake names and stuff, and they were all funny and very edgy. you know,
Pushing the boundaries of
which you
social.
couldn't do now.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, now you couldn't.
Cancel culture's killing you.
Back then, like, people didn't care. People had to laugh. And they were like, oh, the odd person would take it offensively here and there. But, 1 out of 100, it's
fine.
It's going to happen in everything.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what you do. Someone's going to be offended at something somewhere.
Yeah. And at any point, so after the first couple of years, are you thinking, well, this is great? Are you in the moment there? Are you loving the grind, or are you?
And never thought about it.
You
just doing it.
Just doing it.
Just doing it. Just young, and I was just doing it. And at that stage, that was your.
Not thinking about burnout. Not thinking about what's happening in 5. You don't have a 5-year goal.
You just had energy.
Right.
But you always had like things you wanted to do in your head. But like at that time, you just work and just pushing.
And you're not driven at that stage by the business to make enough money so I can buy a Ferrari or anything. It's just purely the love of the grind.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Everyone wants to be, have that, make us what they
impact,
can.
Right.
But it's just like at the time, you don't really think about that stuff. You're just kind of making and cooking and, just doing it.
On reflection, do you find that there's a greater satisfaction when there is a point of sale there, right? When someone walks into a shop and says, I want that, and they get it, they can eat it, versus, let's say, a 200 dessert order from in a hotel or a conference, and you don't get to see anyone enjoy it.
No. Yeah.
Is there a lot more value?
Oh, totally.
You? Yeah.
Especially when people come back regularly and they, see them, you know what I mean? They kind of like the people who are spreading the word.
Yeah.
That's who spreads the word. It's those
soldiers.
People. Yeah. Those people who come in the early days, especially, regularly, you'd come and come and come. Yeah. And then that's something you see as you grow as well, that those people will disappear slightly. Because when you grow and you're less attentive to that, and you're growing your thing and more people are coming or whatever, those people will, if you don't stay, that's one thing I definitely learned there's not much you can do about it once it's done, because you can't tough those people down, because you had no system back then to sort of
corral them back.
Yeah, keep the data or whatever, so, but yeah, that's what I noticed a lot too. Like as those troops that were spreading the word, you'll lose a lot of them because as you grow, because you're spreading yourself thinner. Yeah. And if you don't have the right people in the front, once you lose some of those people that you had in the early days, and they're not keeping the culture, they connect with those people, it can be they kind of feather away.
Do you think that's a hurdle that is near impossible to achieve? Like now, let's say, if in the sense of you scale a business that is sort of built on, good quality products, but built on that feeling of that, I get my macarons from Adriano personally, or that vibe or that culture. It's so hard to replicate as you scale.
Very hard.
I don't necessarily have I don't know what you can do.
It's very hard, especially patisserie, because it's such a craft, right?
Yeah.
It's not something that's just coming from a manufacturing line and in a box
from a robot.
People come and buy it, right?
Yeah.
It's like it's a product. So if you have multiple stores, there's a lot of work going into getting all those stores kind of. So it's hard to give that. Yeah, but you can do it. It's I think that if the right person you find that could make that atmosphere and that culture throughout the business. I just never had that skill.
Yeah.
It was something I never had.
So take me to the point where obviously the shop in Balmain is going well. When's the first thought of open up another one?
The second year. I opened up another one the second year. But it wasn't like, I opened up one probably about 4 stores down. It was a little arcade, and I opened a chocolate cafe. Yeah, so I did breakfast, lunch, and chocolates.
Okay.
And I did that in 2008.
Same branding?
Called, Zumbo Cafe Chocolat.
Right.
And it was just in a little arcade. At the back of it, little weird sort of shaped space.
Walk through,
yeah. Like it was like a L. It was actually quite a difficult space to operate in the end. Like that's why I got out of it after 2 years. Okay. I was in there for 2 years. Always full kind of thing, but just never really made anything, because the operating costs of that was kind of like you can only fit, I think, 20 people maybe max at a time. And then to serve those 20 people, you needed X amount of people. So you could never make the money back, because it was more of a sit-down place. Yeah. You'd go there and have, poached eggs or toast with ricotta and lardo or whatever, the chef was making. I had a chef there at the time, a friend of mine, and he was an amazing chef, doing amazing breakfast and lunch.
The turnover just
Mitchell, yeah, he's big in Sydney now, and he's got new restaurant stuff, but he was just doing amazing stuff. And then I was doing the dessert menu. We had like 4 or 5 plated desserts, so you could, simple ones.
Yeah.
You come there and have, and then plus we had the chocolate cabinet and coffee and hot chocolates and all chocolate flavored macarons.
Yeah. Right.
So that was kind of like the vibe there. It was a cool place, nice place to go, good food. But after that, we just kind of went, it's just hard to
It's a lot of work
to navigate. That's what I find a lot in this industry. It's getting that balance is hard, because sometimes, you get people, but then it might not balance out to the amount of people you can have.
Have you done that? Did you do that exercise before going in to go?
No,
If there's 20 people in this room, they're spending average $18 a sit, and they're all sitting down for 45 minutes to an hour. That process, you haven't done that exercise. You've just gone, this is fine, this is close enough.
No, I wanted to do it, so I did it.
That's amazing.
That's how it was when I was back then. I was just like, I want a chocolate cafe.
Shoot from the hip.
Let's do it.
And what's
rent's cheap,
Get me closer to you in those decisions. Are you thinking, what's the worst that could happen? How does
Didn't even think that.
Didn't even think that. You weren't thinking, what if this goes belly up, or this makes a huge loss?
Let's just do it.
Let's just get it done.
Yeah. Especially at that early stage.
Yeah.
Just young and full of...
Who are you leaning on at this point in your life to talk about these things?
It's no one really. My sister was helping me in the office a bit. She still had another job at that stage. And then she eventually came over and helped me a bit more. But at that
background?
She's works in Institute of Forensic Medicine.
Okay.
Yeah.
But she was happy to come and help.
Yeah.
Sort of be that mentor, or not mentor, but
she just helped out in the back, just because I was in the kitchen all day. Because when you're in the kitchen all day, you don't have time to do all that stuff.
Yeah.
You're just 12, 15 hours on the tools, head down.
Yeah.
Just pushing to get the stuff out or doing the prep for the next day or the rest of the week. It's one of those things. It's you kind of, I think in a food business like this, you kind of need someone that's on that thing full time. So.
And then then when do you replicate the patisserie shop?
So that's 2009. I went on MasterChef.
So talk to me about that whole MasterChef.
Nice. And So we kind of got our first article write up, I think maybe in 2008. And then from that, it started to, grow a bit. Just people from other places just come trying it out. Then the whole blogger revolution was happening, at that time, 2008, I think 2007, 2008.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of bloggers were massive. They'd all get together and come.
Facebook was just starting as well.
And Facebook groups and stuff, that sort of stuff. So, so we had a Facebook group. One of the bloggers started. It was like an appreciation society for Zumbo, because they were, at the time, there was nothing like it. Right? Now there's a lot more patisseries and bakeries, and really good now, it's come out of its woodwork in the last 12, 15 years. But back then there was nothing. There was only really basic stuff, like a real Aussie bakery, a couple of French guys that maybe migrated here in the 80s, had a couple of things, you know what I mean? But real old school. So what we were doing was kind of new age, flavors, textures. And so they used to always come every week, and we're always trying to do something new and play around with flavors and textures. And it was quite daring, We had things like cauliflower meringue and like all this stuff back in 2008, 2009, and they were they'd try it, and some of them didn't like it, some of them liked it, but we were always pushing. Whereas now it's, I don't know. In my head, I'm a bit I don't push as hard now with that stuff. I'm not as daring because I kind of know that it's only a small percentage of people that will eat that, and especially up here now, we're on the coast, not many people will eat that because it's a bit too far. But in the city,
you've got
more people, so the percentage is more people, even though it's
same percentage, greater number of people.
But greater number of people. So you'll still sell a decent amount of them.
Of cauliflower.
So you get to, because which is after growing up eating crumbed fried cauliflower from my mum.
Yeah.
But I mixed it with like lemon. So I had it with lemon and yogurt underneath. So the meringue was like kind of cauliflower and I crumbed the meringue. And then we used to blowtorch that. So it was kind of like this, but that's how your head was working,
Yeah.
It's like, I'm going to do it. Back then you just do it. If someone doesn't buy it, we don't do it again.
And you're truly doing, this is coming from a place of pure creativity and satisfying that rather than a headline or rather than staying ahead of.
I didn't care about
I
that
didn't
stuff.
care about it.
It was just purely satisfying yourself.
This is
what
fun.
was in your head. This is fun.
This is fun.
Yeah, that's when it was fun.
Yeah.
You know, it was a lot of fun. So it was like, doing all this crazy stuff, playing with, olives and olive oil, and people were loving it, buying it, all crazy tarts. Like we had a tart called A Night in the Cross, and it was, it's, rhubarb, rose, brulee, compressed watermelon cubes, fresh raspberries, and then on top there was a little baggie with watermelon powder in it, like freeze-dried watermelon powder. People loved it. The sort of elderly, like world class, were buying it for their dinner parties.
Wow.
Because they loved that at the dinner party there was a little bit of humor, and they bought something, but it was delicious. Yeah. Yeah, like so that it was a different era back then. I mean, I'm sure that's still around, but there's just a lot of mist in between it that, if you did put that in your shop now.
Yeah. Not as much fun.
Yeah, it's not, you know what I mean? Like, it's not, back then, like, you're just doing it.
Yeah.
And people were like, they were catching on, they were like, enjoyed it. And that was my theory from when I started, to have names that made people think about whether it was a moment in their life, whether it was why is it called that, because that starts the excitement of the brain from the start, right? Rather than go, oh, I can have the chocolate mousse cake. You go home, what's this? Oh, chocolate mousse cake. Great. That's not bad.
This is A Night at the Cross.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like,
look at that.
It's like,
look at that.
oh,
look at that.
and everyone's going, oh, yeah, I get it. Like, so it starts.
And they eat it, and it's amazing.
You start like, you start getting everything ticking in your brain and your body, because you're starting to think about this. That was my theory back then when I was younger. I was always thinking about, like, these, like, it's boring to buy, something that's just plain Jane. It's all right, it'll work. You can do that, but for me, it was like, let's take that next level.
It's an experience,
and just give it a bit of meaning, a bit of name, a bit of like depth. Yeah. So that was kind of that.
And then MasterChef,
2009.
How did that happen?
Got a call just from the shop saying, someone called looking for a croquembouche from Channel 10. Left their number, said, can you call them back as a producer or whatever. I said, yeah, I'll give them
Are you
those back.
thinking that it's like a staff party or something?
I'm just thinking, they just needed one for someone's birthday or something, you know what I mean? And then they started calling them. I was like, oh, yep. They told me you need you're looking for a croquembouche. Yeah. I said, we can do it. And he started telling me about, we've got this challenge. We've been trying to get it right. We can't get it right. And someone's dropped your name and said that, you're the man to hopefully help us and get it across the line. I said, I'll help you. So then, my task was to write the recipe, organize what they needed for the challenge, and then, obviously take a hero
piece,
drop it off at the studio in the morning. And then that was pretty much all I had to do. But then it changed, and they were like, oh, can you bring your chef whites just in case when you come to drop it off? We might try something. And then, that was, you're going to carry it out. And that's where it all started, I guess.
Yeah.
It was that was the first season of MasterChef, so they were trying things. It wasn't a hit yet.
No, yeah, I was right there. I was one of those viewers.
Yeah. So it was it was a bit. I think it had 5 judges or whatever. It had the host and the 4 judges. Yeah. So it was a lot of playing around that season, trying to get what that show was going to be, and I was very lucky to become a part of that. With the pressure test.
And you were fine, obviously, at that point, not to be part of it physically, like a face of it. You would
I would have just dropped it off.
Here it is.
He said, I'll put your name in the credits for making it, and that's it.
And you're like, that's
cool.
Pay the bill.
Yeah, I'm going back to work.
And then all of a sudden,
well, not from that one. Yeah, so that one kind of like started ticking, and then I got another 2 opportunities that season, and then it went bang. Like I think after a couple of, then the queues started. Work, people wanting. So from the croquembouche, it went crazy. People wanting croquembouche and looking for where to buy stuff to make croquembouches and stuff like that. But as a business, it bought a little bit, but not heaps. But the next 2 eps, it went bang. It's the next season, like just queues were 120 meters down the road. Wow. You could, like, we'll close in the shop at 9:30 in the morning, 10 in the morning. Finished. It was finished. We'd just load the shop and then just bang, gone. And we couldn't load it anymore. Like I didn't have a big enough team. I was trying to grow my team as quick as I could, but like you can't grow your team overnight.
No, that's right.
So it's just like,
keep that quality.
Yeah. And it's just like, that's all we can do. We're pushing as much as we can to get into the shop.
And are you buzzing at this point because of that creativity is getting tapped and the audience and the public's there and they're loving that creativity that was so organic at the start? Are you maintaining that edge or that fun to your process?
Yeah, it was still fun at the time.
Yeah.
It was busy. It was crazy. It was.
I can only imagine the hallucinations.
Yeah. I think the fact that there was no structure made it easier at the time, because, if there was structure, there would have been more things which should have been structure. I'm not saying that's not a good thing, but I'm just saying at the time, it
was easy to manage.
It was just do it, get it done, and get it to the shop.
You're playing day by day almost.
Yeah, pretty much.
It was just like, there's a wildfire happening.
It was a wildfire happening.
Yeah. And we just got to grab a bucket every day and hope that, see how it goes.
That's it, man. Just make as much as you can. And, then we started wholesaling. So we had about 15 wholesale customers after this time. People started wanting product, and so we grabbed a good chunk of wholesale people, and so that started happening. So we got quite busy there.
Off-site now?
That was still at that sublet kitchen. Yeah, but they'd gone, so we had the whole site.
Place, yeah.
But yeah, still was.
You're not off-site.
It still wasn't big enough, at the time. But we, it got us through. And then we moved next door. There was a building, and then came up for lease, and then we took the lease on it, and then we built a kitchen in there. Then we moved in there. Then we opened another little store in the corner there. I think that was, I'm trying to think what year it was. Maybe we went in there 2010. Yeah, I think so. And then we had a little kitchen outlet.
Yeah.
There, so that was that second store. And then a few stores after that.
So talk to me about that. Is that just trying to, the demand is there and you're like, we need more stores.
To get more space, I think, to be able to do better product. And then more stores came. Like, they didn't have to, but.
No, they didn't have to.
You took the offer.
And so talk to me about this.
So the next door, I think the next door was Manly.
So you could have an option of staying in Balmain.
I could have just stayed
in Balmain and just keep selling out at 11 a.m. and just doing that until the line subsided.
Yep.
If ever.
Yep. Could have just kept doing that.
But at some point in your mind, you thought, and I'm intrigued to know whether it's your mind or someone else's mind or who's involved here with this influence of decisions to go, we need to go somewhere else in Sydney.
Yeah, I think it's just your mind. You like at first some places like, oh, I don't want to be there, like in some places, but then you're like, oh, we should try and grow and get more people and expand the brand, and I guess you're kind of reflecting off other brands or businesses you see, like then they start putting stores and you go, oh, it'd be nice to grow a brand, to see something that you've grown in those kind of different positions and being able to have access to a wider audience. And then, but I think like the biggest mistake is that we didn't really plan that. So just as the offers came in, if it sounded good.
You talked to me about so for the people that don't understand this involved.
Oh, so if a shopping centre comes.
Westfield comes to you, let's say.
So yeah, or any of those shopping centres. I don't think I ever had one in Westfield. Oh, maybe in Melbourne I did.
But they say.
But if someone like that comes to you. Oh, they say, well, we like what you're doing. We really want to get you in the centre. You know what I mean? And then it's just like,
here's an offer.
We'll fit it. We'll give you X amount to fit it out.
We'll give you 6 months off the first lease.
Probably not that much, but yeah.
Yeah.
But we'll give you, maybe a month rent free or whatever. And then, and then you get into it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're like, oh, well.
And the driver there again is like, honestly, do you think the driver there on reflection is simply to growing the brand and to impart that, continuing to give that creativeness that you have to the audience? Or are you finding that as you get more notoriety, more celebrity, the numbers are getting bigger, the bottom line's getting bigger? Are you driven by that more? Or do you still truly think going back it's just that creative process and feeding the people?
I think it's just you as a person. You need something new all the time to drive you. It's like, otherwise you get bored.
You're there at school being read to.
You know what I mean?
Straight through.
It's like, I need to challenge myself. It's like this feel of risk, in the challenge. It's like, they're coming at you. Okay. And then you go, okay, well, I don't have money. All right. He's offering to fit out this store, or she, or whatever the thing is. So I'm like, well, that's a good way I could get to, I'll do that at that stage, because I didn't have much experience or knowledge of, how that, obviously gets cut into your rent and all this kind of blah, blah, blah. And, if it's not a good amount, then you're going to pay for it in the end. After 5 years, after the increases, you're going to be running a store that's probably unviable in a sense, because it's gone up so high. So, but at the time you're just like, okay, yeah, for sure, we could do that. And then you kind of do, you work out, okay, I'd have to make X amount a week in your head, and from probably learning from the store that you have, you go, okay, yeah, I think that's possible. And where it's at, there's more people over there than there is in Balmain. But then it's like, I guess when you look back on it all, like the way you've set up the stores is too close.
Yeah. So so what you're saying is Balmain was killing it, but not necessarily a challenge anymore for you. So you're looking for a greater challenge or more challenges to come at you.
Yeah, you're looking at the drive, like it's something like someone's there, like, yeah, let's do it. Let's go into the city.
Let's go and do that.
Let's go and do it.
And so then you're taking at that point offers from all these centres in Sydney.
Only one at a time, yeah.
One at a time.
Maybe one a year. It was kind of like, or maybe we weren't like going crazy.
Sure.
It took us 12 years to get 12 stores.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, like, but we didn't, probably maybe in some years there was 2 stores, but
sure.
But, it wasn't like it was a fast growth in a lot of brands' eyes, but for some brands it would have been nothing, some people opening 60 stores a year.
Yeah. Okay.
But I mean, like for us as a little small business, it was decent.
And then at what point did the thought come into your mind, maybe these are too close to each other, or maybe I've
not till the end, yeah.
Maybe I've gone too deep here.
Yeah, not till the end, not till like it was.
So you are riding full optimism.
Yeah, I just thought, like you could. Why not? Why couldn't you do it? Why can't people come? Like this Circular Quays got a mass influx of tourists and people. Why couldn't it work there and have one then at QVB? Which was a great store. And yeah, so that was in my head. Like I thought, city, you got to have a few. You should be able to,
because there are that many people.
Well, there's more people. There's more people in the buildings, more tourists and tourist influx there, seeing the harbour and all that sort of stuff. So you sort of like going, well, there should be more. But there's a lot of different things at play in there as well. Like Circular Quay was under construction for 2 years. As when we opened, it was under construction. And then like literally within that 6 months across the front of the store, then it was all construction, redoing all that pathway, all that area. And then that has a little bit of an effect, because that end of the city is kind of like not as vibrant as it was. So, that's one little thing. That's probably not the reason why it didn't do what it needed to do, but it was, that's probably one of the effects in some of the things. And I had that same effect in South Yarra, and, I had a mad store there. It was cranking. And then as soon as they started construction in that street of other apartment buildings, which was probably about 6 of them. So every couple of years, there was just one, bang, another one. Trucks, dust, roadblocks, everything. And your business just dies. No one wants to go down there. Because everything, it used to be a thriving little area. People coming down there. Next door, we had an amazing coffee shop that used to be next door to us. So it was always pumping, and then we'd have our patisserie next door, and it was pumping. And then slowly people stopped coming because of all those things. There's better places to go.
A different place.
Yeah, go sit somewhere else
without a crane or a reversing truck or
dirt in the air or dust. So like all those little things play big effects in some stores.
Yeah. And are you, as I said, like, are you in this time over those 12 years? Have you got a team around you to talk about that?
In the end, I did. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it took me a while though.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I've always had a team around me, but I probably didn't have the like the sort of some of those key people to sit me down and go, no, you can't do this. We don't have, you know what I mean? There wasn't like, there was always just someone telling me,
it's a yes,
borrow more money or whatever.
Man.
Yeah. Too many yes men, just people. And then maybe that got into my head too much. And then sort of, even if someone did tell you a little thing, like probably wasn't that person, you're not listening to it. You probably wouldn't hear it.
Yeah. Are you traveling a lot in that time between Sydney and Melbourne?
When I opened in Melbourne? Yeah. Come back and forth every week. Yeah. Stayed in Melbourne for a couple of months when it opened. It was insane. Yeah, when we opened there, it was crazy, gangbusters. And it's like one of those things you see on TV. Like people just down this for weeks, just when you open a new brand in a new city,
Sure.
it's like those things. It's like, oh, this is nuts. This is it.
And then when was the first? Talk to me about that element of that, or that first period of time where you're like, oh, this is now going not the way that I wanted to go.
Oh, I can't remember what year, but yeah, I got to put a general manager on, try and just straighten it all out because it was too much for me. I was traveling and creative and doing this and doing that, and so I thought, we're still all right, doing everything right. I said we need
Someone to manage it all.
Just to manage it. Let's take us to that next level. And then just from then it kind of. Then I took a site which was next to my South Yarra store. On the other side of it, it was a big space, sitting there, and I thought, oh, maybe I'll give it a crack. I always wanted to do a high tea room, and I thought, oh, a high tea room off the back of the shop would be great. People can go and have high tea, and sit there and experience it. But that just turned into a bleeder. It was just high overheads. Only really operate on the weekends. People were only really coming out on the weekends for high tea. And then the weekdays, it was just like zip, like a couple $100. But you had all these people, because it's a big site, it was 400 square meter site.
Yeah.
And then it just didn't work. And then it ended up just bleeding. And then it was separate to Zumbo, but then Zumbo was having to help it stay alive.
Mm-hmm.
And then it put Zumbo into problems, and then it all just, it was like a sword that just went straight through it.
Yeah, right.
It's just, one mistake, bang. And if you don't have that right structure from the start, like I said, when I was just gunning and running,
then
there's, you know what I mean? Even though at the end, even though over the last 5-6 years of your business, you're trying to straighten it, make that all but there's just too much damage done in early days. It's hard to bring it back. And then if you have too many yes people around you, what are you doing? You're just making debt.
So your Adriano Zumbo had, you had 12 stores, internationally well known, certainly in Australia. I know you're big overseas now, but back then you're probably more big nationally.
Yeah, more big nationally, and then probably just like India and Asia and stuff like that, where MasterChef was huge.
Yeah.
Then you were kind of like on that because you did so many episodes and they were massive. So they'd know you and stuff. Yeah, but like not really US and stuff.
And what point? When do you put your hand up and go, this is done. I'm out.
Well, I tried everything. I pushed everything, tried every different way, tried to get out of leases. I think I got out of one. The rest wouldn't let me go. Even they were just telling them the honest truth, and they just don't let you go. Yeah. Hold you by the neck against the wall, and then you go, when you go to administration, they'll look at you like you're like, why? And I was like, well, you wouldn't let me go. If you had to let me go, I could have cut my overheads down. Got rid of the shrapnel. If I could have sold because we owned it. Well, the bank owned it, but the kitchen. Then in 2014, we moved to Lane Cove, set up a big kitchen to feed all these stores. And then the goal was to grow it bigger nationally, you know what I mean? Be able to send some of the base product out. And we had that sort of groundwork there. And then if we could have sold that, then that would have cleared most of the debt. Get rid of all that heavy overhanging shit. And
but they didn't.
I just couldn't, man. Everything you wanted to happen, that you needed to happen, just doesn't happen in that time.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like you're like, oh,
it's like kicking a dog when it's down. Like
just listen to me. I'm telling you what I got to do. But it's like, no. Oh,
how does that
talk to this person? And it's to get nowhere. And they're all just like,
how are you internally at that point when shit's going wrong? At that point in your life,
just tired, exhausted. Yeah, exhausted, full of adrenaline to try and make it work. Because I really believed I could have.
Yeah.
In a way, like there was just ways I could see it, but then everyone's just starting to cut out as well. Like the bank will cut out because they don't want to be in the media or anything. They start to then pull back. So it's like they'll give you X amount to this point, and then once there's a sign of falling the other way, then they'll pull out because their risk is too high. So the bank will sort of cut their ties to that point. Then they'll start trying to get out of it. What can we get rid of or whatever, blah, 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 so then you're like trying to balance all that, ATO, all these people.
How much stress is in that environment versus when it was, let's say, early days, or let's say when Balmain was going at its height, when you weren't really prepared for that?
There's no stress then. It was just excitement.
It was just fun.
It was just fun. It was excitement. Everyone's pumped.
Yeah.
It's like, even though you're working big hours and long days and whatnot, and it was pretty chaotic, but it was, in the end, it was one store. We're making product, we're trying to change it up as we're going, and that was fun. But at the end there, then you got all your staff you're trying to keep motivated, to try and say, get through it. Because what do? Oh, no,
it's going to go down.
It's going to go. Then everyone will give up.
Yeah. So
you got to try and keep the positivity there, keep pushing. And then you're just trying to get product sometimes, because people cut you. And then, all these things. It's just like a bloody...
Sounds like a nightmare.
It's a nightmare, yeah. And then you just go, you know what?
Are you going home at that point when you're still trying to fight, looking yourself into the mirror, and are you just... What are you saying to yourself? Are you trying to give yourself a pep talk?
No, I was still driven. I was driven that I could I could do it. I've always been like that when I'm in a situation.
You back yourself.
Well, I back myself to try to get myself out. It's literally when after that, then it's like, well, what do? You still got that natural adrenaline of like,
this is my baby.
I got to do it. I can't let all this go. Worked hard, build this or whatever. It's all here. Just need somebody to believe in it at that time, But I mean, there's people who come and try and take it over or whatever, but you're like, well, nah, I'd rather let it go than be a 1% owner or, do you know what I mean? And stuck here, like slugging it away for whatever to watch what the brand wilter away probably, because in the end, the brand's not much without me to a point, and it's still a name. It can still grow. The name's there. It doesn't need me fully in a way, but to some point, it still needs you to be a part of it because needs to succeed before it can let you go.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean?
Totally.
Yeah. So they would have needed you to rebuild it as a brand to get it to a point where then they could let you go. But,
you weren't prepared to do that.
Nah, I was exhausted. I was tired. It was just like, I was just like, you know what? And I tried it. I looked at every avenue. I'd found someone to possibly buy the site, the building, and then sublease it back to us. And so forth. But then I weighed it all up, went to the administrators. They said, you can have the stores back if you pay all the bank guarantees, new bank guarantees. And I weighed all that up and I was like, oh, you know what? I'd be in the same hole. And then COVID would have hit a year later. And I would have been in that same hole. I would have been worse probably because I would have just put everything back on the line to hit another wall. 12 stores, trying to run 12 stores for 2 years of lockdown. Would have been a bigger disaster.
Yeah.
So I don't know. With no disrespect to anyone that lost stuff in there. It was kind of like someone got me out of there before it even
the tidal wave came.
Yeah, and then I don't know. Things probably would have been worth less. In the administration, they sold the building. It didn't clear everyone. It cleared the bank and stuff and all that kind of things. And because I had family that kind of put their places up for a guarantee. Yeah, so that was my biggest number one thing is obviously, a lot of people are losing, but I couldn't, those people that my parents didn't have anything to do with the business in a way. If I had to have lost the house, it would have been, I don't know, that would have been the hardest thing, I think. So I fought hard to
save that,
to try and at least get something and then try and get what I could. We traded for a bit, 6 months, I think. But then I just said, I don't have the energy to do it, and all the funds.
You traded?
The administrators traded for 6 months.
Okay. Yeah. And then that was it.
That was it.
And are you at that point once it's all done? Are you spending? So you spent some time not creating.
No, I didn't create for years.
Yeah. Well, we're talking now. What, 3 or 4 years? 3 years.
About 3 years. Yeah. I had ideas in my head, but
didn't want to.
I didn't have the energy to want to do anything with it.
Wow. So you'd been all the way from when you were 14, putting different icing on the finger buns at IGA with your parents' shop, to that point, creating every day, and then not for 2 or 3 years.
Oh yeah, it was
proper burnt,
just burnt out, exhausted, from people and debt and all that stuff, and then all the people, the hardest thing is a lot of the creditors who support you or whatnot, and then they lose a chunk, like a lot, I mean, it happens a lot there's a lot of people go down every year, but, when the people and, you're working with all the time, I don't know what you want to say. I just kind of go quiet, I don't know what you want me to say. I mean, I apologize, but that's not going to really bring back anything.
Sure.
You know what I mean? It's just words. So, that's where it comes to, you kind of, you walk away with that. You didn't get to where you wanted to get, just to try and keep everyone happy, and that's it.
How does it sit upon reflection to you now, that whole experience?
Oh, it's still there. It's fear, I think, now, even with this new business. Like, I don't want to do half the things. Like, I get to a point and I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to take that risk. I'd rather let it go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm just like, I'll get it to a point. If the business can't,
if we need to apply more risk, you're not going to do that.
No.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's a different world out there now, post-COVID. It's more expensive.
But you'd be a different person.
And I'm a different person too. I look at all those things and I think, well, if a business can't like cover itself, then it needs to go. And that's what I think now. And in the last one, I'd put all my money in it, like everything. Everything I was earning on the side, I was throwing it in. Yeah. And I'll pay for it. Let's get that and this. And as much as we had heaps of loans as well, but I was also putting all my money in. Because it was my baby. I'm going to grow this thing. I'm going to make this national, maybe even global one day.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm just investing. We're going to do it. So, but then, at the end, when you walk away with nothing, and then anything you have, you kind of got to sell it anyway, on my house and all that shit. It's just like, what's the point? So, at the time, it was, I don't regret doing it. I did it because I wanted to. But now when I look at it in the second phase, I'm like, I put X amount in at the start, and that's it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to chuck any more in it. You know what I mean? For now, until I believe in it again, So.
Believe in that risk.
Well, I believe in the business, but I just, the risk, and from where I'm at in life, I mean, I'm not I don't earn that much money, and I don't, you know what I mean? So if I had that much coin spare, okay, you do it, right? If it works out in how much you have to the amount you need to risk, I mean, you do it. But I always said someone else would do it if that ever came. Probably people out there more powerful than me, more experience, probably, better, in that field, where I'm probably better in what I do, in thinking and coming up with ideas and concepts and stuff like that. And that's my strength. I think I just got to stick to it.
Yeah. So what changed between after not having created for a number of years, you move up to the Sunshine Coast? What changed for you to go, I want to start? Because you now have a shop at Noosa, Zumbo Tests, and that's a point of sale store. That's your Balmain shop, essentially.
Yeah, it's kind of like Balmain, yeah.
And you're back version 2, almost, with that experience. So what changed for you to go, actually, I want to put the toe back in the water and...
Just need a job, to be honest.
You stack shelves, you got that experience?
Yeah, I could stack shelves, but I needed something that was...
You still wanted to...
kept me driven. I still love it. Like, I still love doing what I do, and creativity, the ideas, the... giving a good product, and I love all that. Yeah. But I think the initial thing was like I needed to get that adrenaline back, And there's up here on the coast, there's not many places that you can work in my field.
Correct.
To get that, like it's not a lot.
Creative.
There's not a whole lot. It's very, very few, and a lot of them probably small, and you probably wouldn't. Yeah, I don't know. You might. So then it came to mind, I'll just do something myself again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's why it's kind of like just a little test kitchen. And then I guess the goal was just to see where it goes, see what work I can drum from it, whether it's doing testing for some other brand or whether it's feeding that little small outlet there, you know what I mean? And it's kind of flexible in a way. I think it's, that's for me, that's how I kind of thought about it. Just give myself a place to do something and be able to, support myself
and flex that creativity back.
Yeah. I got the creativity back. Yeah. In a sense, I think it's just hard. Sometimes now it's just the time to do it because we're so small. It's when you're there, you kind of working to just fill or supply the shop. So because we're small, like now I need to get it to a point where I can be there still, but step back where I'm just the, calling the shots sort of thing, or even someone who's running the day to day in the kitchen, and I'm just kind of thinking about the next, or coming up with the next, kind of playing around to get it right. What's coming up at the moment, just going with the flow.
Do you think there'll be a night on Hastings Street? Dessert
night on Hastings Street.
Yeah.
Oh, the Rolling Rock or something. That'd be a good one.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think, as I said, I think it's an amazing story, because not many people, whether you can accept this or not, or appreciate this or not, but not many people have gone through what you've gone through in life, what life's thrown at you, right? Or at least what you've experienced, to go from finding your passion so early in life and going, that's the shit that I want to do, to creating a store without any sort of business acumen or experience, for that store to be really successful because of how you do things, become quite famous in that industry, or not even in that industry, in just general life, to then expand your brand, to then it all come crashing down, to then starting to find that again, in that creative spark, and along the way finding that, I guess, that happiness, or that spark within you again. It's pretty unique to have that roller coaster.
Oh yeah, teaches you a lot, like how you look at things, and it makes you a different person for sure. I'm definitely not that same fun person I was when I was,
Less fun, you think?
I still got the fun in me. Yeah, but I think there's a lot of like scars and things sort of in the way, that get in the way sometimes, and sometimes, still things it'll take time to work through in that little thing that clicks in your head from the experience or whatnot, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't show much emotion. I'm very like unemotional person in a sense of how I show it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, but I'm always, deep down, it's always like a push day to day. I'm definitely I'm pushing myself a lot more now to try and get somewhere than I probably would have when I was younger. Right? I'm older now. Of course but we'll see where it goes, I guess. You know what I mean?
So with all that experience and where we sit now, how do you define for you success and happiness? There's two different types.
Success for me is, I think it's a personal thing. Like everyone's going to see what success is different to themselves. For me, I've never succeeded. I've achieved a lot. Yeah, out there, I've done a lot. I've ticked a lot of boxes. Books, TV, shops, festivals, travels. Great achievements and amazing. But for me, I still haven't. I feel like in myself, I still haven't succeeded. Because I haven't achieved any of the things that I really wanted to achieve, and that's whatever it's growing that brand to where you see it, where it's the stores, selling merchandise, selling bakeware, selling having retail products in supermarkets that are targeted at obviously that dessert space and stuff like that, and homewares. It's endless what you can do with it. You know what I mean? That's just whether So in my head, I've kind of haven't gotten anywhere with a lot of those things. It's just gone around in circles. And all the sort of projects I did over the years just welted away, just lose a lot of money, whether it's an app or, back in the day I was playing around with a game and you drop so much money trying to make this thing happen because it's a vision in your head and you think like kids are going to love it, and then it falls away because of maybe that game company. I think the game company, it went bust, you know what I mean? So like then you lose a bit like from me and other people, So, I know the feeling in that sense because, I dropped a lot of coin into that.
Yeah.
And then, so all these little things. So in my head, I haven't achieved those things that I want to achieve. So I haven't succeeded in myself, but I have achieved a lot of things that have come my way because of the job and the skill that I've put out there. For me, that's where I sort of sit in my head. And I just, still driven to get somewhere. Something. I've still got all those ideas. It's just whether they ever going to go anywhere. But you take that day by day.
Yeah.
You just never know. It might not. If not, but I'm content. If not, like I said, I've achieved a lot. Like I can't sit there and go, I haven't done anything. I've got to get out there and go and chase something. I got like so much stuff that I kind of done. And over those years, as well as running the business, doing all those things, like just non-stop work. And I think I'm still kind of recovering in a way. I'm not I'm not thinking about it, but I think my body and myself still kind of like, I used to come home and pack my bag and go somewhere else and doing work stuff and creating, and like it was just endless. So now I'm a bit more chill. My mind's still going like 100 miles an hour, but you're just not doing as many things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And you think that's because of that, processing that trauma or processing that experience?
Yeah, and I think I've stopped chasing a lot of it.
Mm.
You know what I mean? I think like I'm more now, if it comes my way, or if I meet that person that has that same click and connect, it possibly could go somewhere. You know what I mean? And if that person has that same vision and you kind of connect on that level, then great. But to chase it fully, like it's, in the end, a lot of time you're just going to burn money. Sometimes you might get somewhere, but the risk on that,
it's too much.
It's far greater than if someone naturally has an interest.
Sure.
I don't know. That's how I kind of am. Some people might think, if you don't go out and get it, it won't happen. But, sometimes it's just fate and destiny. I don't know. Like might sound a bit trippy, but, that's, if you're out there and you're talking to people and you're still believing what you do, that can still happen. That can happen, If sitting at home sleeping and not doing anything, of course, but I'm still out there doing stuff and I'm still out there thinking. I'm just not chasing. I'm not calling someone going, I really want to be on this.
Forcing it.
Yeah. When you force it, sometimes it's just not. Yeah. So that's where I'm kind of at in life. Lucky to live up here. Do like it's a beautiful place, great people, and there's a lot of other amazing people up here like yourself. It's like it's a good place just to be around. And like I said, if I only ever kept doing this, or even if I get a job in a supermarket, like I said before, you're still going to be, as long as you're paying the bills, you're going to be happy, man.
Yeah. And that's the next idea, is what does happiness look for you now and into the future?
Yeah, I think it's, just being able to live in your own mind and even just think that you can do some of the things in your head. I think that brings you a lot of joy, even if it's just you've thought it, you've written it down, you've sketched it out, it's sitting on your wall. Sometimes just getting it out of your body is half the amount of happiness. It's like, I can see it. Yeah, it's cool. That's a mad idea. Yeah, I had that idea. And even if you just share it with two people that are close to you, and they're like, oh man, that's awesome. Do you know what I mean? That's just, sometimes that's just enough.
Yeah, that's the creative process.
Do you know what I mean?
Needed,
even if it doesn't go anywhere or if it doesn't happen, or, there's so many things in my head that like, it's just, it's crazy how many things I want to do and I have ideas for, but sometimes I don't know how to extract it, put it down and give it to somebody, or to put, sometimes it's like those kind of like, maybe I will figure it out one day, but sometimes I sit in front of a computer or things like that. And like, I can only type with 1 or 2 fingers. So then I get bored and then I get tired and frustrated. Yeah. And then I just go, I'm going to leave that for now. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And it's like, so then I just kind of like start thinking about other things. It'll come back in my head.
All right. Last couple of questions. Must read book.
Well, I don't read novels or anything, but cookbooks at the moment. I'm reading.
I love that you read cookbooks.
I'm reading Saisons, which just means seasons in French, but by Jan Couvrier. Vincent Galais, anyway. You see, if you Google it, you see.
Most important person in your life?
Oh, definitely my whole family, but mum and my wife, yeah. Yeah, mum's, or mum and dad, but like mum's, always just, I wouldn't be here. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like all the things that she supported me in and just been there. My whole family, though, they've all been there throughout it, but definitely my mum and my wife just putting up with all the shit and just living through it. Or, I think that's half the thing, like even, just when you're not there and they're just, they're just there. Like they don't make you feel like you're nobody or nothing, or they're like, oh, why aren't you, or you're mute, or you're this or you're that or whatever. Sometimes you just closed off and you just, you know what I mean? Like it's just,
they're still there.
They're still there. Do you know what I mean?
Unconditionally
just there. When you're just like, I can't do this, I don't have the money, I don't spend this or whatever, I can't go there, can't travel, can't take you on holidays, they're still there. You know what I mean? Like it's just like all those kind of things, all that. And so, I'd just say they're probably the most important people in my life.
One piece of advice from your experience for success and happiness
is just set yourself small goals. I think, I think for me, it's like, you got to dream. I think everyone needs to dream big, because obviously you got to stretch far to achieve something. And if you don't stretch far enough, you're not really going to go anywhere. But if you take it in small steps, I think you can succeed a lot more. And
so breaking that down,
just breaking your success up. What is it?
Yeah.
What is success to you? For me, like I said before, it was building this and that and making things in my head come to life. And along that way, trying to achieve that, I've achieved a lot on the side, but it's never got that end goal of success, right? I'm still trying to reach for it, and maybe I'll never get it because maybe I'll keep setting it further away. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, don't live your life by it. I think it's super important that you don't sit there and say to yourself, I'm not successful. Like, I don't say I'm not successful. I just say I haven't succeeded in what I want to succeed in.
Yeah.
I've achieved a lot. But so if you say to yourself, like, that you believe in yourself, and that success isn't something to drive your life by. Do you know what I mean? Because it's different to everyone. And happiness, just do what you love. I think you do what you love, do your things. Like, for me, on my days off, I get bubble tea every morning. But it's just the best thing. Like, it's something that makes my day then just like, and everyone will be different.
Yeah, sure.
Everyone's different, whether it's taking the dog for a walk, like, just do those things that make you happy, make time for it, because I'm definitely in my young years, I didn't do that. Yeah. I just worked, I worked, and I don't regret it. Like, I did it because I wanted to, but like, I think now looking back, you need that little bit of,
if you just had some bubble tea.
If I just had some bubble tea, yeah. If I had access to it, even it's like, go and get it, sit down for an hour,
just
drink it. It's just like, oh, that's my vice right now.
Yeah.
And it'll change probably.
Sure. Yeah.
Like, it changes all the time, but like, just, stick to your vices, stick to those things that make you feel happy. Surround yourself with great people, because you really need people around you. I think people, as much as sometimes you want to be alone, but you need to have people sometimes, because they just really, make it a lot easier and better and support you. Because if you lock yourself away, people will just go the other way as well. So I think and just find a place that makes you happy. Like, that's why I say I think for a lot of people, happiness is something that they're seeing, especially now with a lot of social media and a lot of digital, whatever we can access. Happiness sometimes isn't real for what we're seeing. Do you know what I mean? It's what you think you need to be.
Sure. Because
of what you're seeing.
Yeah.
So I think it's about defining that to yourself. I mean, that's a big thing.
Figuring out
what is your real happiness.
Yeah.
Not what somebody else thinks you should look like to be happy, or that's my happiness because I like what she's wearing. Like,
I'm getting a bubble tea tomorrow because that'll make me happy because that makes you happy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Don't be like that. I think you got to be, understand who you are, what you like.
Mm-hmm.
Believe in yourself, all those things, like that, your personality, your uniqueness of whatever that happiness is priceless.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful, man. Finally, one guest, famous or otherwise, you think we should have on the show? Oh, shoot, however high you want. We're going to run a list. Or who you'd like us to sit down with.
Oh, so it has to be someone that can sit in here.
No. We can do it over Zoom.
Oh, yeah. Jon Snow.
Go Jon Snow.
Oh, from Game of Thrones. I don't know what his real name is.
No, sure. We'll find out before we reach out.
Well, I like him, man. He's so he's the King of the North. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, fun. Well, the King of the North on. I don't know whether the budget will allow us to fly him in.
No, but you just talk Zoom.
But we can go Zoom.
If you get him on, that'd be.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just like him.
All right.
He's another one of my vices. Like, I just like watching that.
Sure.
Like, just watching, he's a inspirational man for what he's done. Well, I know it's only a show, but
I'll send you a text.
That's one thing that after what's happened, I've really gotten the TV shows and feeling like I'm in the show with them, like, and just feeling their whatever, if they're powerful or if they're whatever, they're inspirational or whatever.
Yeah.
I think it's just finding those shows.
Yeah.
That have that, you just kind of get in it. It's like really, you get kind of emotional in the moment and just lift you up. Yeah, you start to feel like, I never had that before.
Yeah, sure.
I never used to see that in a TV show, or I never used to watch that many TV shows to be able to get into that. So,
awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I'll send you a text once we're lining up to interview the King. Was the King of the North?
King of the North.
King of the North. All right. Adriano Zumbo, it's been a real treat to have you in, and I appreciate your time, dude.
Thanks a lot.
Cheers, man.
Thanks, Richard.
Well, that was Zumbo. such a privilege to sit down with him, and I thank him so much for his time and patience to be able to talk us through his life and his experiences on the Success Times Happiness podcast. On a personal note, it's been truly amazing to see this whole thing go live, and for Cody and I to continue recording and putting out episodes, and to see everyone, or to see the people that have listened to them and provide some great feedback. So all I encourage you guys, the early adopters, is to tag us on whatever social platform that you are on, and let us know you're listening to it. Let people in your networks know that you're listening to us, and maybe give us a tag and give us a suggestion as to who you think we should get on next as a guest. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and peace out.